I love your smile.
Where women from all walks of life share their story, including men. And parts of that story is compared to a particular blooming flower for the women, and for the men, a particular tree. I'm Bobby Hobson, and my guest today, she is a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a retired school teacher. She was also once a director of two children's theaters. And now she also has a booth at the Southern Vintage Company, and we will hear more about that. And my guest today is Metra Reid. Hi, Metra.
Hi, how are you doing? It's so good to see you.
Great. Doing great. Yeah. Each week we ask our guests to identify a particular flower that they feel best matches their attributes and their characteristics. And Metra has chosen the geranium. Here it is. This is a geranium bouquet. Very, very pretty. So I'm going to ask Metra to tell me how she connects with the geranium. So Metra, take it away.
Geraniums to me survive in spite of everything. You still have to take care of them, but they're one of the few flowers that I haven't destroyed. And they have such beautiful colors. They're so bright, pinks and reds and salmons. And I'm a survivor, and the geraniums are survivors as well. And so to me, that's what I am. I really relate to the geraniums. Wow. My mother loved them, and so do I.
Good. I love a good story. And each week I also ask our guests to tell us about individuals that have impacted their life the most, even when they were very young, in the middle age, and even older, and even now. I want to hear about some of those people, Metra. Tell me about those people.
Oh my goodness, Bobby. I was very blessed. All my life I've been blessed. Even when things went wrong, there were people there who lifted me up and loved me. And I was the kid who was just a little different. You know, you might be able to tell that even now. But these people, my parents especially, loved me anyway and supported me. My mother realized that I could paint. And so she worked it out so I could go and take watercolor classes at the College of Art. And she would drive me from Whitehaven to the College of Art at night while my father was traveling out of the country. But she still did. She made sure that I was able to have experiences, and that my sister could too, because she knew that God had given us each special things we could do. So, but Mama, my mother, she showed me how to be strong. She showed me how to have faith in God. She wrote a journal to my sister and myself, and after she went to heaven, and I know she went to heaven, and in her journal, she talked about her beliefs and her faith. I remember that when she in the early morning hours of New Year's Eve of 2010, my mother knew that her time was coming, and that we were by ourselves at the hospital. And my sister lives a good 45 minutes away, and I'd called her, but she wasn't there yet. And so Mama, she told me that she was ready, and she had one hand over on the side of the bed, and the other hand was holding my hand. And you know how you want to know how, especially someone you love, how they're feeling. And I said, well, Mama, are you afraid? And she said, no. And she said, my right hand is holding the hand of God, and this other hand is holding your hand, and it's going to be okay. And not too long after that, you know, she passed away. And I knew then, without a doubt, that God was in that room and surrounding us with his love, and that it was going to be okay. And it is going to be okay. Even when it feels like things aren't, going to be okay. Whether it's the pandemic or like when I had cancer, all these different things, it is going to be okay. And we have to, and no matter what the plan is, no matter what is in our future, he's there and he's ready to hold us up and keep our spirits up. And of course, Mom always said, have a plan B. And she would say, well, what else are you going to do? Well, what else, and what else are you thinking about? And she would always make me feel like I had the sense to figure things out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So often we don't do it,
That creates critical thinking, and I love that. Now, let me tell you, when I went on the Southern Vintage Company's Facebook page, I was so intrigued. I was so intrigued by your energy. And so,
oh my God.
I really was. And if anyone is interested in what I'm talking about, go to the vintage, the Southern Vintage Company's page. But I'm going to let Metra tell you more about that because I loved it. And I also purchased something off of it. So Metra, tell us about the vintage.
So much fun. One of the ways that the owner, Mindy, helped Southern Vintage Company survive the pandemic last year was to have a Facebook Live sale. And at first, it was like at noon when everybody was stuck at home working. And that kept us going, kept the store going. And then we had to be, essential. And so this lady came in and she had she makes wonderful casseroles. And so Al Gratin, that's right, opened up with that. Well, now each Thursday night at 7:00, there is a Facebook Live sale from Southern Vintage Company. And the third Thursday is Ladies Night. So we have not just Facebook Live, but we have a live audience. And, they come in, and some of the ladies sit there and they're watching and they'll bid and try to outbid somebody else on something that they want to buy. And it is so much fun. And my buddy Elise and I have just a great time together when we do. I'm so short, she's so tall, she's so thin, I'm so not. And but she's so knowledgeable that she inserts this knowledge into what we're talking about. And see, I love history. My parents collected first edition books and antiques and original art and all these things. And one of my first memories was sitting on a little stool in an antique shop somewhere in Louisiana when Mama would go visit her mama. And I was being so good that my grandmama bought me that stool. I was about 5, I guess, one of your first memories. And so I guess I just grew up with all this neat stuff and the stories that surround these wonderful things. I know they're things, but if it's say something special that belonged to your great grandparents or your great grandmother, that builds on who you are and the story of who you are.
Yes.
And it passed down to your children and their children. And if let's say you buy something in a place like Southern Vintage where you have antiques and mid-century modern and things like that and retro, love retro, and it becomes yours, but you've bought it and you know the story of that thing, and you give it to your daughter, your son, or your grandchild for their story of farther life. You don't just immediately start out in life with something. It has to come from somewhere. And so your story can be the time, like I have a collection of salt cellars that they put the salt in, and they'd have these little tiny spoons, and the people would salt their food. This is before you had a salt shaker.
Oh.
Okay. All right. And so during the Great Depression, my mother and grandmother would still go shopping. Okay. But they could, and my great grandmother as well. But like you could get one of those little bowls at the salt cellar for about 50 cents. So they were still supporting the people that were small business, you know, because 50 cents was a lot in the 1920s. But then as time went on, these were passed down to my sister and myself. And so we had, when so there's a girl that's getting married, she could be family, she could just be somebody I love. And I'll write a little story for her about, imagine that you're sitting across the table from this man that you want to love the rest of your life, and you're going to, and you have, this little bowl of salt, and you get a pinch of salt and put it on your food. And that salt cellar stays on your table all the time.
Wow. Metra, what drives you to do what you do now? You're a retired school teacher, and you're doing these exciting things now. What drives Metra?
Oh my goodness. My husband would say I'm just silly. No, he wouldn't say that, because he loves some things, he loves, and some things he's like, oh my gosh, where will we put that? I think part of what I do, originally, Sweet Ella's Emporium, my booth, was called Blessings. And the idea was that all of my proceeds would go to helping people and blessing people. And and when I can, after I pay the bills, and I'm able to help someone, Forever Young with the veterans, we put together a basket from the store to auction off, or the silent auction, to help them go back to Vietnam. Or, my dad was supposed to have been one of the first to go back to Europe. He was a POW during World War II and captured at the Battle of the Bulge. But he was so sick he couldn't go, and he's in the book called Forever Young. And so, that's part of what gets me. I mean, my mother taught me how to pay it forward. And usually I don't really tell everybody how I do things or what I like to do, or sometimes I'll just say, well, we won't talk about it. We'll just do something, whatever,
Yeah.
But to me, it was just so important that I could carry that on for Mama.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just real. She did that, and I found out after my daddy died that he really kept it a secret. I mean, there was a lady who he was in international education department and all this, and there was a lady from Jordan, and had he not helped her, she wouldn't be here today.
Wow.
So, and then there was a gentleman who made his whole career in education, and he didn't start out being the type of guy who would do that. And he told me how how my daddy had done that. So for him, so I think we all owe a piece of ourselves or something to make a difference in the world, to make it so that everyone realizes that they have worth, because we all do. Everyone has worth. There's a reason why we're here. God put us here to love one another, and so that can you imagine how much He must love us? Let's get real. I know what a pain in the neck I can be, and yet God loves me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just completely. It's just this love that no matter what I say or do, He's still going to love me. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful thing. And we're also blessed, and I wish that we could convince people just how blessed we are. But I don't know how we can do that except just by being us.
Exactly. Metra, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh my gosh. That's an awful question. I know that one of the things I would say was cherish each moment. Each moment is so important. And I think I would also ask myself, just where the heck do you think you're going? Slow down, just slow down and I think about my boys when they were growing up, and here they were. I mean, Josh had to have growth hormone shots. He was going to be 4'6", and he's 5'10", thanks to medical science and God. Yeah, and his mother saying, "Come here, give you your shot." And his brother Jeb held him too. My neighbors came over and took turns holding him so I could get his shot in him, and then his brother at 5 years old held him one time because the neighbors were out of town. Yeah, I mean, this was really a community effort to get him to grow. And so, I think about all those things, and what would I tell myself? I would just tell myself, like Mama always said, it'll be okay. You don't think it's okay.
It'll be okay. It will be okay. You've accomplished a lot, and you're still at it. I mean, you have that energy, and I love that. Where do you see yourself going from where you are now? Have you thought about it?
I did not really think about it until you told me about that question, and I thought, oh my goodness. I mean, part of it is I've been so busy. I know we've had a pandemic, but we have grandchildren, and we want to see them, and Southern Vintage never had to close, and be gone, or we were very, very fortunate. And my house is a disaster area. So I thought about, because I look like a hoarder, but I promise you I'm not. I have things to sell that I just and I stop and I research. I want to know all about it. I want people to know about these things, and but anyway, I don't know. It's like we're going to be 10 years from now. I mean, 10 years, a long time ago, nobody made it in my family to 75. Now they did. But so I want to be able to hold those moments and hold my children and grandchildren and my husband and love them, but not to the point where I drive them crazy. I just want to hold on. Yeah. And I want to keep on doing what I'm doing because it keeps my brain awake, of selling vintage, of researching it, of my friends that I have. One's in New York City and one is in Foley, Alabama, and one is she was in Seattle and now she's in Las Vegas. My son that lives in Studio City, California. So they're like from sea to shining sea. But I also want to write, and I do write, but it's time for me. I remember Mama said, well, what are you waiting for? You've already started. Don't you think it's time to finish? And that was 10 years ago. Oh. So, I just, and James will even say to me, why don't you, he built me a farmhouse on my great grandfather's last 10 acres of land in Mississippi. I'm so blessed. And he'll say, you need to go to the farm and write. Well, it takes me one day to slow down. And the rest, so I have to get there and stay there a little bit longer. But so there are a lot of things yet that I want to do. Somebody said, well, that's what young people think about. Why? It's not what just young people think about. As we get older, we have things that we want to still accomplish. It may not be, some huge grandstanding kind of thing, but we all have, even if it's not killing the geraniums, we all have something. I want to learn Spanish. I mean, I knew it, but I need to relearn it because my father was fluent in Spanish as a second language. And it's a shame I didn't keep up. So I've got the stuff, and I've got, his old books and all that. And I'm determined. It's on my bucket list that I'm going to do that.
Well, great.
I hope I do.
So much for being on Bloomwood Bobby today.
Loved it.
Enjoy you. I'm telling you, I just enjoyed you watching you so much on Facebook Live. It was so much fun.
Let me know when you're coming to Southern Vintage so I can see you, okay?
I will. So thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching. We upload new content every Saturday. I encourage you to tune in to Bloom with Bobby because someone's story may cause someone else's story to end well. Also, if you like what you've seen and heard, we ask you to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Until next time, be blessed.
Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.